deep as a river. Come rain or come shine.
A os de hoiri is mihid buga, sé an coigulá dieg de fiara sprocháda don P35. Gavan balak eska trí Ross ag revenue stad AI. Troracha, ach dieg noca, fe coig dacha de coig seska coig. Shakan pinoish in yucha canak bejer, no few in coish of Corúil. Sé sprocháda don P35 an coigulá dieg de fiara.
It's not enough to see smooth chocolate. You need to feel it, touch it, taste it. Experience irresistible Galaxy chocolate. It's silky smooth like no other. Galaxy, pure chocolate enjoyment.
Stand back, it's ready. Nothing gets them to the table like a delicious homemade lasagna made with dolmio.
Ah, Mama, you can't beat the homemade, eh? Dolmio lasagna. When's your Dolmio day?
CB12.
Bad breath is a very common problem. Although many people do not know, they suffer from it. Bad breath occurs due to stale-smelling sulfur gases which originate in the mouth. Now there is an effective treatment for this problem. CB12. CB12 eliminates the sulfur gases which lead to bad breath and is effective for 12 hours.
CB12 and I love it.
CB12, only available in pharmacies.
Saladas nóigáil chlór Ross na rún, déanamid ceilúra bhoscadóir mór le rá an chláir. Sin é Bobby Gardiner, sé seo sé Mo Laoch.
Is ceoltóir den scocha Bobby Gardiner, ní éon áras féig. Nuair a chuoiníim sin is bhoscadóirí mór na tíre, agus chearan gomach Bobby gomsan is hósar a bhara. Na measc na ceoltóirí is fear dábhail going sa tír, hain an bosca, you know.
Ní gádaid ach enam Bobby Gardiner a lú, agus bín is ag daoine gur ceol den scoth atá am is Laoch don na rincóirí go léir sa tír seo. Colús atá Bobby agat tá na rincóirí agat. Leanan siad Bobby.
I was born in 1939 in a place called Uchtdara, just outside Lisdoonvarna. My mother, I suppose, could knock a tune out of the melodeon and concertina. My father could dance a set. And my mother actually taught me my first tune called What the Divil Ailed You. It was a man by the name of John Joseph Clare. He was from around Liscannor, I think. When I was about 12 or 13, I was to hear him lilting at the Kincora Hotel in Lisdoonvarna. And he had a very humorous style of lilting. And it was only a big number of years later that I was thinking about him, and I said, maybe I should do a bit of lilting myself and include some of the things that he used to do. Well, the first instrument was the concertina, which my mother taught me. I was on that for a little while, but it had seen its better days, I think, when a goose's quill was used for a broken spring, or a plaster sometimes was used to repair an air leak. So I started to lose interest until my brother came back from Dublin with a 2-row Horner accordion, and I took to it like a duck to water. And I decided then I'd have to get my own accordion. So I thought up the idea. I took a hatchet and a saw and went after the woods nearby and cut fencing stakes, which I sold to a farmer from Doolin called Barrett for 6p each. Shortly afterwards, I located a D&D Sharp Palasoprani accordion, which I bought from Gerald Loughlin, the Kilfenora Kelly Band, for £18. It built up my repertoire, so Kitty and Anne of the Kilfenora Kelly Band asked me to join it, and I'd set off on a Sunday evening with the accordion strapped to the carrier of the bike over to Gerald's house, and Gerald would give me a lift to the gig because Gerald was a drummer with the Kilfenora Kelly Band, and he drove some of the members as well.
Oh, he was in huge demand for the country dances in the area. Places like Balnawan and Paulnagun and up and Fanor and all around this Dunvarn and Doolin. He was of the time of the Russells and the Killouries, you know, Paddy and John Killoury, Michael Packy and Gussie Russell. He was of that time, and he was just something special. When he eventually left to join the Malachy Sweeney Kelly Band, that was an awful blow to us. We hated to see him go. You know, we didn't want to see Bobby Gardiner going away.
Well, it was a popular band around many, many parts of Ireland, you know. We recorded for the BBC, I think, and we used to play a lot in Galway and Connemara. The band kind of finished up one morning when there was a bit of a row, I think. Can't very well say too much about it. Shortly after that, in 1960, I went to America.
And I remember the first time we went to America, the convoy of cars leaving Lisdunvarn around that area, heading for Shannon Airport. Very few people in the parish had a car, but all the people gathered into the cars were there, and a complete convoy went and followed him to Shannon Airport, because at the time it was like the loss of his son going away. You know, he was that kind of popular and that sort of important to our cultural piece there in North Clare. He was very, very important.
I immigrated to America in 1960 and settled in Connecticut near my brother Mick and my sister Mary. And then I started working on the railroad. I got started working, repairing the freight trains as a helper. The news spreads around all the Irish community that a musician has arrived, and you're brought down to the club and tested out there and welcomed and appreciated. It's, I suppose, one of the things that connects you up with all the people that have gone out there before you. And when you meet the musicians, then it's an added bonus. You're playing with them, and you've contact made, and the music is keeping you going. You have that thing in common all the time. In 1962, then, Bernie Witt of Copley Records, Boston, he contacted me to record an album of accordion playing. We arranged to record it in Boston. Billy Rush was the piano player. And, you know, it was a different style of recording that time. You just went in, you recorded your stuff, and you only barely listened back to it. And Bernie Witt, he'd be walking up and down the studio with his cigar, and he'd be looking at his watch. So there was no time for big, long delays there recording. I joined the army in 1963, and I was based at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and Fort Eustis, Virginia. But when in Fort Dix, New Jersey, I would sometimes go to the Catskill Mountains, where I encountered some of the great musicians of New York, The Catskills, of course, was a mecca for traditional music in those days. That was the place you'd go if you wanted to have a good session of music. We played for weddings and funerals and parties, birthdays, you name it. And sometimes, you know, the Americans, when they ring up to have your group play, they say, could I have your orchestra for my wedding? Everything was called an orchestra from 3 pieces up, I think.
I remember working in Listonvarna in a particular hostelry for the summer, during my summer school days. And Bobby arrived back, and I can remember clearly he had a Hohner 3-row accordion, 120 bass. And that time we wouldn't have seen one of those in Listonvarna, you know. But I remember him coming into this place where I worked, and himself and 1 or 2 of the musicians of the area, people like John O'Loughlin, who used to drum with the old Kilfenora Kelly band, and Michael Hillard on the piano. These were awesome to listen to, like, you know. I haven't heard anything like them since, you know. It was just something special. And he was in his prime at that time.
Full me le Bobby, hies I Listonvarna timpel, mil nege chesk Shane o shacht. Vi riechterschul, vi she arachtalig magrahar, vi mar farishador hies I Listonvarna ganam, agus vi miche eg hanna, agus vi Bobby eg shaint. Agus sin mar a vulmer kele, agus vulmer kele rish, hies in Aulinston state into Rheinblina in Nishin. Bosmer in mil nege chesk ni. Agus bhí an banis hús im láchlia mar bhí mise gobran sin in San Eastern Health Board agus an sin a chumar harneis go dtína státaíonnta bhí mar in New Haven.
Well, is céimre chum hí na gobarneach le maithir hir Somália, a tá me go searns go dtí tús na seacadaí. Agus bhí mu gobarneach le seir na tíú bhí te chu chuir híhuaí. Agus bhín sé díanaan té agus coneal iscead a mórteal agus ar cement agus ach bhí mu deach láháin agus gúna na bhín se gobarneach leis nó garbheith gobarneach leis. Ná tí bheith gobarneach leis seach mín se sna títhe agus bhíine gáil rí Sean 78 agus Cairnínéis dis sigisteach agus seomar sitis na títhe. So bhí mu deach láháin agus bhfuil bhí ráchéarní an, bhí tíireach freisiocht as America. Ceann le Bobby Gardiner agus ceann le Cristróni. Fe coppláling sin megéiste le sé géirnín sin agus tá mai hepa go mór gur chean móáthir de gáilinn sin coppla seata ní. Agus sinna chéidir ar chola me ceol Bobby Gardiner. Bil nege seachtain an seachta héan ní cuioine am anis agus sochríú mar síos an seo. Thóg mé an na fallí cliche agus an droch chalamh hús go pácan na farsing Tibredarn é.
Míle go léir blianachchain bhíon cultúr agus an teanga ghaolach go farsana fud na héireann I leamháineann agus Alban. Ní hálann cásan is fearr, agus ní néireann bháin a tharla sé seo. Is mise donna chamach a nimire, agus tá me tuairt faoi thoras dúchan nach mara chun nás go chothú I dtír mo cheantar hain go na mara agus na críocha gaolacha eile fud chóstaí na lean seo.
Tras thucéire dear daoin tíchi ceathair.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Wouldn't you like to get away?
At McDonald's, all of our beef is 100% Irish, 100% local. That's because we source it from Board Bia quality assured farms and local farmers we know by name.
Everybody knows your name.
This is the story of why. Well, then every story is the story of why. You might start with the where, the when, the who, the what. But it takes the why to make them a story.
Yoplait fruit yogurt. With milk, juicy fruit pieces, and no artificial sweeteners, no preservatives. No one in the family can resist. Yoplait fruit yogurt. So simply good.
For relief from daily fatigue, discover the Pharmaton effect and restore your energy levels to get the most out of your day both physically and mentally. Pharmaton gives you the unique ginseng extract G115 and 11 vitamins and 6 essential minerals. Get back to your level of energy with clinically proven Pharmaton capsules.
One in every 2 smokers will die of a tobacco-related disease.
There were times when I regretted coming back because it was difficult to get going here. We wanted to come home, so this really was the place we wanted to be. And sure, it was the ideal place to bring up a family. And that outweighs any money or anything else. The farming didn't work out so good because I might be out playing music at night and then I'd hear the bullocks roaring outside the window to be fed and I'd be giving out about them. So we started to rent the land, I think, then.
Instead of spraig níháin mise ach má grafúracha cuma spraig sé sin go léir ó bhí mar anna óg ar fad agus bheadh sé a bhúna nuair bhí mar anar óg agus bheadh choirín cleachta dhéanamh gach lá agus an son a raníamar a uirlisí sin féin. So bhí me héin tócha leis an adóg stáin agus an lóhuisil le déanaí agus bhí Linda tócha leis an concertín agus Kelly leis an melódian. So bhí agsúlacht úntach rélé sa teach.
When my family started playing music first, I wasn't teaching music at all. I used to take them down to Mallow, about 30 miles away, for music lessons. I hadn't a clue that time. I couldn't tell you where C was in the accordion hardly, until I had to go and sit down and analyse what I was doing myself before I started teaching music.
From an early age, we all played music, different instruments, and experimented with different instruments. And Dad taught us all at different times, so there was always music in the house.
To the late hours of the morning where you turn over on your bad ear to try and get a good sleep. Always music.
We used to have concerts when we were younger and we'd charge, have a cover charge for neighbours and cousins to come in. A hefty one, and then have tea and apple tart at break time, so that was lovely.
Stochas na hochtútí déanacha a chéad chur aithne Bobby Gardiner, hána sé dín seanafobal, ganta forchláige múna ceol. Nahors midal chuige, bhil sé dom, tlúas a háirta Phil Cunningham. Níor mis treis éí a grachlan mé Phil Cunningham an boscadorúnta sa Alba, nach níor treis éí grachlan na heh ach bhil Bobby dom dul agus cearnín dá chuide cinachas bheith gaiisteach lom. So dhin me, agus hána mé steach agus bhí na triplets bhí an tú fása cógam. Is stig sich hol. Ach an bhí rá go Bobby son á muélig, chuide son chagan dar ná a bheith ránach. Iad a choristeach san háitna chuíogus mar sin dag sin rud a ile a thorfá féin airméar ceol Bobby. Ní bhíon na morcha dair a stí gáige. Tá sé núlar an ceolsa a bhesca suas a líos go bhfuilte díoch furfa tachthuaig. Ní is a go is búar lethe. Do you remember the triplets, Bobby? We often spent a lot of time talking about triplets and the different styles and different effects you can get. You have this particular triplet, Bobby, that I'd like you to show me there again. There's a particular timing that you're, I think every note receives exactly the same value. That's how
I suppose when I played, I tried to, imitate maybe a step dancer.
Yeah.
Or the fiddle, I think, would have had Paddy Killoran when he played like the Boys of Ballysear. I kind of make a lip onto it.
Yes.
To
get the effect
keep
you're looking for,
crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only thing about that type of triplet is that it's nice if you use it very sparingly.
Yeah.
But if you start to put in too many, then it loses its whole effect.
I remember the first night you showed it to me.
Yeah.
I thought I had it. And 20 years later, I still don't have it. Do you know, it is a particular timing that you have for it,
Yeah, well, yeah. Then, you can, the fingering of it, then you can do it a few different ways. You can go, that's with two fingers, with three fingers. 1, 2, 3, and then you can go 3, 2, 1. Or you can go 1, 1, 1, 1. So you can do it different ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gwar mar tar gur rúgus go tógi mu le ceol an bhilóid an hir a gantar charna. Cho sé bhain go mór mar gur an chrí gus an nach ceol. Is steile an trisún tar fada aige. Tíar an hen mar tar agus an rud bheith an tácht chum hennar bhí geisla ceol tar bich chun se rihin sa chéadáit. Agus nótí sa darhaid, so tá rihin iontachaige Bobby Gardiner.
Try that?
Okay.
I never thought actually that I could teach music, and there were some neighbours around it asked me could I teach, and I had no confidence in myself. So Una Muraku and Tom Barrett from Clonmel, Una especially, she convinced me that I could teach. She kept drilling it into my head. You're well able to teach, she said. From that, then, I went and I got a few lessons from Tom Barrett, how to read music. Then I did the Coltus diploma for a week. Shortly after that, Mihala Sullivan rang me up to know would I be interested in tutoring the accordion at UCC.
Is kind of an law gur Jonas phone called quick Bobby can a valish stack. The Honish stack, so she own force. Agus is more and made Miclean a will cut Trina Loivige. Mar ni here one gur kjol tor than Scohe is dinne than Scohe.
He was one of the first tutors to be brought into the university, not just into UCC, but in fact into any university anywhere on the island and in the world to teach traditional music. Micheál had established this really powerful team of traditional musicians who were sitting in wait in the university for traditional musicians, musicians who were playing classical music, popular music, who came to the university and could have these lessons and interactions with these wonderful musicians at that time.
He's a brilliant teacher. He's very encouraging. He's really lively as he's playing, so he's inspirational as well, really. When I'm learning a tune from him, he understands, you know, I'm visually impaired, I can't see what he's doing, so he's very audible in the way he plays. For example, he'd play a tune and then he might play a bar and then I would repeat it after him. He has a lovely way of teaching. He's very adaptive to helping me learn the tunes, and he's very encouraging as well.
Now, of course, it's that awareness of his own craft and his own skill, his ability to break it down into its constituent parts, that contributes to him being a wonderful teacher. So it means he's able to pass on the music in layers, so he can give you the simple version and then he can develop it a little for you and then he can introduce, but always able to point out exactly what you need to be doing. What first of all, what sound you need to be achieving, but then what you need to do with your fingers and your body in order to do that. So, yeah, there's a fascination with detail.
I always loved teaching. I think you have to love teaching. And you also have to set out to try and be the best teacher you can. I had charts that I used to flip back, already made up, so that I wouldn't waste time having to write them up on boards, you know what I mean? I try to encourage them, you know, to do their own thing after they've learned a little bit of decoration, to try and dress up the tune their own way, because that's the only thing, one thing that maybe used to bother me a bit, that is that when you're teaching, especially in a class situation, that they're all kind of doing the same thing for a certain period. So it is only when the one that's musical will, if you encourage them to break out and start listening to other people and try and dress up the tune their own way and do their own thing, so that they develop their own little style. And I think that's very important.
Ní gach ceoltóir a bhfuil an bua sinnacha gur féidir lo nuair a chosnaíonn siad ag seaint, gur féidir lo rincóirí a bhela chun cúpla chéime dhéanamh. Agus tá mé ag caint fi ceoltóirí atá ard caighdeán ach fiú fós ní gach ceoltóir atá iarúnach nó an bhealach nó an stíl ceol atá go ní bhíonn sé iarúnach don rincóir an seanais.
Ba dam sé seanna sí mháir, agus áma bích nuair bích a chhuila sí Bobby Gardiner a réidir na gata hatíach ar an nálar. Agus fiúgadí an támnar sí ná mór an damsa bíana mar bhí sí builte suas ag scailtechaí. Agus sé díana sí nám sé dhearnach. Dá tí gá chahéir, agus chuir tí dá chahéir le cúla chéile, agus leis meach na hógail de héin, agus bhí sí gar a bheith damsa le ceol Bobby Gardiner.
If you sit down and start to play music with Bobby, you immediately get caught up in the lift of the music. But the other word I would use with it is joy. There's also a joy in it. So he injects joy, and I can see how dancers love joyfulness as well. You know, there's a kind of joyfulness in the dance, in the body, in being lifted. But there's also a fierce drive through it. But it's not hard. It's just a kind of confidence. It's a little bit like the music is always up off the floor. It never actually touches the ground.
Daughterbe is fear úslé is ahar úntaché agus tá mí anna bródú las agus bhí anna tionkar gerin na blinta daoine óga ceoltóirí óga agus tá sé fósa glenúnta raig ní stopan sé agus bhín rodí arsúla gan tamar fad. Nuair bhín cluichí arsúlidir Tibredorn agus an chlár bhín an flag sios ag an gceata.